Spain and India have a relationship of about $7.6 billion in trade, which makes up about less than 1% of India's total trade. But interestingly enough, about 10% of the European Union's total trade with India. Spain is also currently the president of the Council of the European Union, coinciding with India's G20 presidency, where we held the New Delhi Leaders Summit earlier in September of this year. We have with us today the Ambassador of Spain to India, His Excellency José María Ridao. Thank you, Your Excellency, and welcome to ThePrint.
Thank you. Thank you very much for receiving me.
So, my first question is, as I said earlier, the trade ties between India and Spain is about $7.6 billion, which is less than 1% of India's total trade of about $1 trillion. So, from your time here, from your tenure here, where do you think is the potential for India-Spain economic ties to develop? What is it that is, have we reached a potential or is it suboptimal till date, sir?
Yeah, so if you look at Spain, you see that it's the 15th economy of the world. And at the same time, we are the 5th economy in the European Union. So, and the 4th economy in the European Union. So the potential with India, precisely by the reason you told, is total. We have discovered in some sense that this potential is very concrete in some areas. For instance, in green energy, we are developing a huge relation in this field. We are developing also in infrastructure, and we are developing in defense industry. As I said, it's some sort of a surprise because we are trying to have a huge relations with India, and discovering that these three sectors are important for you, are important for us, is a good step to go forward. But at the same time, I would like to say something about this kind of relations, because every time you speak about India abroad, you have the impression that India is considered a big market. And our policy towards India and our idea about India is not to consider India only as a market. India is much more than a market. So that's why we are improving our relation. Investment are increasing a lot in both sense. Last year, around 30% is a huge amount. But we have also all the kind of relations. For instance, Spanish language is one of the languages increasing the number of students more than the rest. We are trying to cope this demand of Spanish language with many instruments, with cultural program, with this program for assistance to conversation in Spain, with the publication of Spanish books in Spanish in India in order to offer to students in Indian prices books of classical authors. So this program is very important. And also there is another aspect which is important. You have to live in India to discover the importance, which are visas. So I was very surprised when I first came here, because visa for me, from my personal experience and the experience of my colleagues, my family, is not so common to speak about visas. So you discovered that in India is a very important issue. And from the Spanish government and the Spanish embassy, we have tried to go beyond the efforts we have done in the past. That's why we will open a new Consulate General in Bangalore in 3 months more time. We are improving our premises of the consulate in Delhi, and we are improving also the system of the Consulate General in Mumbai. So where the number of visas are increasing a lot, and this comes to the economic side of the question, because more companies are going there, more students are going there to Spain, and of course we hope more Spanish people will come to India, because we don't like a one-sided relation, only Spain promoting Spanish language here or for our companies. We are ready and we will be very happy if you Indians also go to Spain to invest, to do business, to learn, to whatever, not only tourism and these kind of things which are very common when you think about Spain.
Yeah, understandable. And you had mentioned cooperation in defense a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to understand in the larger space of the Indo-Pacific, and I think Spain has now started speaking about this Indo-Pacific region as well as defense cooperation with India. I just wanted to understand from your point of view, Your Excellency, what is the potential convergences between Spain and India when it comes to the Indo-Pacific and larger defense cooperation between the two countries?
So the first thing is I will say that I'm very sorry, we're very sorry to arrive to Indo-Pacific so late. And we have to speak, well, to explain why. It's because it's not a common area for us, but we are very interested and we are very conscious about the importance. That's why we had our first step, which was to work with the European Union and decide the European Union with the strategy of the European Union for the Indo-Pacific. But now we have to go a little bit further. And once again, we come back to trade and to economic relations. If you look at the structure of our presence here from an economic point of view, you will see that defense industry is a very important element. Why is so important and why we consider that is also our contribution to Indo-Pacific? Because being a new country in this part of the world, being a country without no issue, with no member of the Indo-Pacific system, we are in a good position to contribute with India to achieve the goal India is trying to achieve, which is a strategic autonomy. If you think that looking at the reality of the world and the movements India wants to do, being more independent from some dependencies of the past, the risk India has is to fall down in the other side. Spain is the right country to come here because I always insist that sometimes Spain is the best concealed secret for some Indians, because when you think about Spain, you think about bullfighting, paella, tourism, football, these kind of things. But when Indians go to Spain, they discover that Spain is also a modern country with science, with technology, with a very developed sector of services and all the modern elements of any country. In this sense, Spain having this technology in defense industry and being in contact and being in transactions with India is a contribution not only for India as a market, is also a contribution with India or to India as a country wanting to be strategically autonomous. So this is our main contribution for the time being.
Understandable. And I just want to pivot a little bit to the fact that Spain today is currently part of the rotating presidency, is the President of the Council of the European Union. And the Honorable Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, in his statement I think on the 1st of July, said that one of the priorities of the Spanish presidency is the reindustrialization of Europe and to establish high-tech critical supply chains in Europe. In the larger global conversation, there's conversations of the European Union becoming more protectionist, more difficult for countries like India to participate in the European markets, right? How do you then see the Prime Minister's statement of this reindustrialization of Europe and the already difficulties countries face, like India, in investing in Europe? How do you see the two statements work? Where then would India play a role? Would Spain be inviting India to invest in the European market? So how do you see these two statements work, sir?
Yeah, I think the link missing in this description is free trade. So that's why Spain was so interested in recovering the initiative of the Portuguese presidency during its presidency of the European Union in order to go ahead with the FTA between India and Spain. As you said, apparently there is a contradiction in these terms, but there is a contradiction only if you don't consider free markets. and we have to work for free markets. That's why the complement of your description is that Spain also has invested a lot during his presidency in order to have this FTA with India signed. It's true that it's very difficult in this moment, but it's also true that in the last 3 months, in the last rounds of the negotiations, the positions are closer. So the time is very tight because India will have elections next year. Europe will have election next year, so perhaps it's a stimulus to go faster. But in any case, we think, seeing at the last developments of this free trade agreement, that it's possible to go ahead. We are obliged to go ahead precisely in order not to have contradictions, which at the bottom there are no contradiction at all. The link and the solution is free trade.
Right, and I just want to ask you about this free trade agreement, because I think the first time it came up was in 2007, and of course it's been stopped, relaunched, and then last June, I think in 2022, negotiations began again. And then we had, I think, 3 rounds of talks in 2022, and then in all of 2023, there's been 3 rounds of talks as well, and the latest being in October. But I think the space was about 6 months or 7 months between the October round and the previous round. So where is the status of the free trade agreement today? Is there, like you said, there's elections in Europe, there's elections in India. Is there any timeline that one could see as the deadline by which something like this could be concluded?
Yeah, it's very difficult because it depends on the will of both parts. And the impression I have is the will exist, do exist in both sides. It's true that it's a very complicated negotiation. You can imagine taking all the products you can sell to one country to another and to reach an agreement. In our case, in the case of Europe, we need to give a mandate to the negotiators, and this mandate reflects many positions of the countries inside, but also of the convictions of the European Union in its relations with countries. So we, in our side, we are ready to go ahead, and we are convinced that at this level, the Indian side also would like to have an agreement. I insist, time runs, and it's difficult because it's not our decision to have elections when the elections must take place because of the constitution, but it's in our decision to go faster, or at least to know that if we don't reach in this moment, we can continue in the point we left the negotiations. So this is very important because sometimes when we think about the deadline of the elections, we consider that all the work done must be forgotten. Why? So we are not obliged to do this. It's true that the most common issue of these things is that you have to not restart but almost restart. But at the end, it depends once again of our will, and the will, I think, in this moment exists in both sides. Indian side is convinced the importance of incorporating India to the change of value, and also European Union is convinced that India being part of an important international market will be great for India and great for Europe. Because if you permit me one final reflection about this issue is, we are huge markets. At the end, it's true, we are huge markets, Europe and India. And perhaps there is a distortion in our views that we think that internal market is enough. And we don't have to think about this in these terms, because it's not good for stability, it's not good for peace, and finally, it's not good for development and not good for the economy of each part. So once again, I think to go ahead with this FTA will be a great solution for both sides.
Right, and it brings me to my final questions, if you permit me. As a part of the Troika of the European Union, as one of the 3 presidents, the Spanish presidency has seen conflict break out in West Asia, continued with conflict that has been there for now almost 2 years in Eastern Europe on the borders of the European Union. So what are the solutions that the Spanish presidency has been trying to see some sort of end or ceasefire to these kind of conflicts that have been going around the world? And an addendum to that is, where does Spain see India? Does it see as a partner in these kind of processes? What role does Spain see India playing within this larger global conversation towards solving the current global conflicts?
Yeah, so we don't have a solution. We would like to have a solution. For Ukraine, our position is that this aggression from the part of Russia against Ukraine is illegal. So we stand for international legality, and that's why we ask for the immediate retreat and stop the war on the side of Russia. So the stand is very clear, and for the declarations of our Prime Minister, and we give all our support to the Ukrainian side. For Israel-Palestinian conflict, our Prime Minister condemned strongly the attacks of Hamas on the 7th October, but at the same time he told that Israel must respond in a very cautious way, because it's the most populated territory of the world. It's very difficult to flee the bombs, and it's very important to preserve civil lives and in the answer. So that's why our Prime Minister called for a ceasefire. Also, he said that is a moment for try to find a political solution for the problem, because the political solution for the problem has stopped many years ago after Oslo agreements, and apparently these kind of agreements, state by state, government to government, is not working properly, in the sense that the Palestinians felt themselves forgotten, and is not good for anyone, not for Israel of course, but not for the rest of the world, to have an entire population thinking that they are forgotten. They are forgotten in their daily needs and daily lives. And with the war is still wars, and that's why my government is very engaged in the idea of, first of all, stopping the war, to reach a ceasefire, and secondly to try to find a political solution.
Right, that was my last question. So thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. Do tune in and subscribe to ThePrint for more.
Thank you. Thank you.